Hello, I'm Nick Balcom Raleigh, Millennium Project intern with the Helsinki office of the Finland Futures Research Center. I'm here today with Jerome Glenn. Hi, welcome to Turku.
It's nice to be here again.
So I have a few questions for you about the Millennium Project and some of your latest projects, including the future of work and technology. First question is about the Millennium Project. It's described as a global participatory think tank that's working on half a bit of humanity. And so I would like you to explain maybe what are some of the distinctive features of the Millennium Project as a think tank versus other think tanks.
Well, one is that it's not working on behalf of a country or an ideology or a single issue. I don't know of any think tank that can make that comment. The RAND Corporation does it on behalf of the United States. Futurible does it on behalf of France and Europe. The World Resources does it on behalf of energy and environment. So the think tanks usually have a specific sort of clientele issue, nation-state ideology focus. Ours does not. Ours is interested in the whole situation. And so, for example, we have people involved in the project who are right-wing, left-wing, up-wing, down-wing, poets, mathematicians, because we want to have a cross-section of humanity involved in the conversation. Now, we're not doing sociology, we're not doing a relative sampling, a scientific sampling, but it's more like brain-picking of thought leaders around the world. So to find those thought leaders, we create what are called nodes. And nodes are groups of individuals and institutions, like here in Finland, that then they identify these people to participate in studies. So, for example, we have a node in Tel Aviv, in Israel. And we have a node in Tehran, Iran. Not too many think tanks have operations in both countries, working in common on different things together. So it is. So one of the distinctions is that it cuts across ideological national boundaries, not by having them just in your think tanks. Or, for example, somebody says they have a think tank at Harvard, and they'll have a couple of people from India who may have gotten their PhD in the United States. What we do is we leave them where they are. So if you're the hotshot person on X and you happen to be in Texas or you happen to be in Tokyo, doesn't matter to us. Our job is then to hook you guys together so that we have an ongoing collective intelligence. So we do surveys, Delphi surveys, we do scenarios, we do all kinds of stuff, but we do it as a cumulative basis, and then each year put out a State of the Future report, which I'm hoping are going into now every 2 years, so I can get a break once in a while. So that's another thing, is cumulative research is new. Because most think tanks will say, we want to do a study on the future of media, or we're going to do a study on the future of eyeglasses, or whatever. Then they'll do a study on something else. But they may not have an accumulative learning between one study and another. It's there if the participants are, some of them are saying, or they read it, but there's not a guarantee. Like what we're doing is we're almost like when we have 15 global challenges, we almost like, instead of writing, we're almost like sculpting. So like something that's intelligently said last year, there's no reason not to have it in, right? Still intelligent, it's still important. But maybe there's some new insight about it, or some new meaning about it, or maybe some new data about it. So we do a cumulative research in the 15 global challenges as part of our State of the Future report. So a cumulative research is unique. And the participation base is more diverse than anybody else's. That, I think, is clearly true. And that is, someone might say, well, you're in Washington, D.C., so it's too oriented that way. There's far more Europeans involved in the project than the United States, by the way. Europe has taken it over. As a matter of fact, right after our meeting here at the conference, there'll be a meeting of the European nodes here. So I would say those are some of the features. We're trying to create, another thing, is a collective intelligence system online for the future situation across the board, so that we can have a larger scale, automatic, participatory system that's improving the collective intelligence for people to use, so that eventually that can be as automated and as possible, many people involved in it, but it would not hopefully have to have eventually somebody writing a lot of this sort of stuff. It's like a Wikipedia, but like for the future, and not just wiki pages, but a variety of different menu capabilities. So there'll be news feeds coming into it. The news feeds, if there are long-term implications, can go into a scanning system. The scanning patterns can go into a situation chart, what is, what ought, what the policies to address between what is and ought, then report about that, what web resources to check on that, what papers to resource on that. That kind of combination, then being done by a lot of people around the world, is really quite unique. And it's going to take a while for people to understand that that's different. My first email was 1973.
Right at the beginning of email.
Before me. I'm not first generation, I'm still like second generation. Anyway, now I bring this up to say that for the next 15, 18 years, I heard people say, I don't need computer communications. I have a fax machine. Now that sounds funny today. Then they said, well, you know, no one needs that stuff. That's ridiculous, right? So now people say, well, I don't need collective intelligence because I've got Google and I've got Wikipedia. What do I need it for? It'll take a while because they don't understand the relationship between news, scanning, situation charts, reports, website. I mean, how do you make that all an interactive thing and not chaos, but in some sort of quasi-organized, collective, merging, intelligent way? People are not used to thinking that way. Even myself, who designed the thing, I'll still sometimes go out and do something in Google and say, oh, wait a minute, I forgot. Go back in my own, I forgot that stuff there. Because I can take all these news feeds into one location, RSS feeds into one location, then I can search it. So instead of having like RSS feeds from 20 to 30 different organizations, I can have it all into one place, and I can search that each day. You know, I can't quite do that the regular way RSS feeds are set out in different locations. Right. So each one of these different things will take a while, including myself, to get used to using. So I expect collective intelligence to become a very big thing in the future that may be done by somebody else, like Google or whatever, but that's one of the other unique things, is we're creating a collective intelligence system. I think we're the only think tank that has done it as extensively as we have.
Right. And speaking of this this unique feature of the futurists and the nodes kind of working cumulatively to work on a project together, you recently completed the Delphi part of the Work Technology 2050 research project. And in the press release for it, you said the AI robotic future could be an age that releases extraordinary human creativity.
Correct.
And so I'd like you to maybe explain a little bit more about what you mean by that.
Correct.
And then also maybe any other like surprising details that are that surfaced during this this study so far.
Right. We obviously don't know the truth of the future, but we can talk about probabilities and a range of possibilities. So that one of the desirable futures, if we are able to use artificial intelligence and robotics and synthetic biology and drones and 3D printing and nanotechnology, etc., to replace human work or human jobs. The old saying is, whatever can be automated will. Well, what can be automated is anything you repeat. You know, like driving to work. So you have a robotic car driving you to work. A lot of agriculture can be totally roboticized. There's just an awful lot of things. And as we project that out, it becomes clear that an awful lot of things won't need humans as much. And it could very well be one of these things that grows a little bit, and accelerates a bit. So we want to think ahead of that acceleration so we don't get caught. Now, one of the ways about releasing human potential is that if we can, say, license robots, or license artificial intelligence software, or license other sort of 3D printing machines and so forth, and then just like you license a car, and then you pay a tax. So that if, like as the cars increase, then the amount of money going into repairing the roads increases. Right? So there's a ratio. So we might be able to do the same thing with the technology that replaces all these humans, may actually cause an income that then can actually go back to humans as well. So this it has different names. One name is guaranteed annual income. But the idea is that it's not your fault that you got automated out of a job. I mean, you went to school, you did your stuff, you got your training, you did well, you're hired, and all that. And all of a sudden, boom, you're replaced. Well, if that's not necessarily your fault, so why should we punish you as a society? It's not that you're lazy, it's not that you got fired, it's just the way things happened. So we don't want to have half the world out on the streets being poor and begging, right? That's not a very pretty picture. So if that new growth and wealth can be put together in such a way that gradually through time, it's not going to happen overnight, that then people can separate how they live from the work they do. Right now, you make your money from work. You earn a living. And if you don't earn a living, and you don't have an inheritance, then you're out in the streets. Right? That's the model. Mm-hmm. What happens if we say, okay, you need this basic amount of stuff, and now you're free. You can begin the morning by maybe going on to your internet charge couple devices and your glasses, sure. And you have your sound system and so forth going on. And you're curious about something. So, that's interesting. You go from one curiosity to another curiosity to another curiosity, and then you hit something that's interesting. And some people are saying, hey, I'm interested in antique futures. I saw that you did a videotape in Turku with this guy, Jerry Glenn, years ago. You know, would you be willing to contact them again? And we're doing this documentary, and we'll give you an honorarium of $100 or 100 euros. Well, you were following your curiosity until you hit something that was mutually interesting. Right? Mutual interest, and sometimes is one of the ways you make some money and income. So what happens if each day you sort of invented yourself? Because you had the freedom, because you had your basic foods and survival needs taken care of, and if you want to make some more money on top of it, okay, but you didn't have to worry about your living. You're guaranteed an income. Mm-hmm. All right? So now, go back to what the Western historians say was the beginning of philosophy. According to Diotima, the teacher of Socrates, the idea that they had a leisurely priestly caste in Egypt. And from the leisurely priestly caste in Egypt came all this new thinking and civilization and philosophy and science and all that sort of stuff. Okay, now, fast forward to 2050. What happens if you had half the population of the Earth on some sort of guaranteed income, and they were free to explore, but they're not humans like us. They're augmented geniuses. Now, you're not born with 20/20 eyesight, right?
Right.
So you augment your brain through your eyes with glasses, and now you're 20/20, right?
Right.
And you're not embarrassed about that. It's okay. Well, why can't we say the same thing with genius? Can we augment potentially every human being is willing to, augment them in some way of being a genius? Now, we say that eventually you take an IQ test, you get this score, you're a genius. Well, if I have access to artificial intelligence and all kinds of things simultaneously all the time, I can take that test and I should be able to score a genius, shouldn't I? Right? Now, I say that to be almost simplistic. The more serious thing is that we know a lot about the brain functioning. We know that it can improve. We also know how to augment our reasoning. Just like we're augmenting this way. So we could have a leisurely priestly caste of world civilization. How much creativity could come out of that? I mean, I don't know how many leisurely priestly priests there were in Egypt, but probably weren't that many. You know?
Yeah.
There certainly weren't billions of them. Right? There weren't even billions on the planet yet. Well, if half, we got 9.6 billion in 2025 or so. So if let's say even 10% of them, right, that would be 960 million free geniuses. That's releasing a lot of human creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what will happen.
Yeah. Well, we're going to create the new civilization. I mean, when we started before, we were hunting and gathering, right? And then we were like agriculture, right? And then we were industrial and then information. In each age, culture, civilization was a bit different. Well, now, but each of those ages were not necessarily connected to the other parts of the world. More so now, but not so with the pre-industrial and the agricultural and the hunting and gathering. But now, you are as easily connectable to any other person in the world who's willing to talk to you on Skype or whatever, like anybody else on the planet. So if all people have access to all of the internet, and the internet is version 17 now, and Watson is no longer Watson, it's Watson plus 5 or 10, and you've got artificial intelligence at your disposal for all kinds of things. You then can act with extraordinary speed in all kinds of learning simultaneously around the world to express yourself in all different kinds of ways. You could have many different personalities, just like people do have a couple different personalities on the internet. Well, imagine that being multiplied. And so each day you can reinvent yourself. And the people that you're interacting with can be reinventing themselves. So that's an awful lot of creativity. That's a civilization and a culture we haven't really wrapped our minds around yet. But that would be what I mean by saying releasing some human potential.
It's really great. So the other thing about the Millennium Project is that you review, and as a student here at University of Turku in the Future Studies program, I rely on this all the time. You maintain the most comprehensive peer-reviewed inventory of futures methods.
Right.
And
you're using 3.0 or 2.0?
We're on 3.0.
Good.
So we're staying hip to the times.
Right. However, that 3.0
yes.
on the collective intelligence system, that can be updated.
Oh.
Just like the challenges can be updated. And I'll show you this after the video, how you can do that. Or if you don't want to do the whole thing, you can do a comment. So you can comment anywhere on any of the challenges, and then people can review that and upgrade them. So all those challenges, hopefully there's no 4.0. It's a continuing, evolving
That's really
system.
Great.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to ask about is, as I've reviewed the methods, I noticed that many of them come from the early phases of future studies,
right.
and of course there are new things.
Right.
But I'm wondering, as having sort of this bird's eye view of all of these methods, where do you see the gaps, or what kind of needs do futures researchers and future studies practitioners, foresight experts, what kind of new methods will fill in for the future? Like what new methods would you really hope that we'd have? Maybe there's like one or two things or one type of need.
Well, one of the things that we're in the process of exploring, you're going to have an exclusive here.
And our audience.
You got it. Well, by the time they see it, it may or may not happen. We'll see. Well, you mentioned this real-time Delphi we did on work and technology. Okay. We're now, a conversation is going on between the representative of the National Science Foundation and IBM Watson that works with universities. And the idea would be to feed Watson all this information about technology around the world and jobs and AI and changing. Let Watson learn it. And then give Watson the same Delphi.
Okay.
You like that?
Yeah, so you have an AI participating in the Delphi. It's
separate from the human. So we have, here's what a cross-section of 300 or 400 humans around the world, supposed to know something, say. This is what Watson said.
Okay.
So it's almost like controlling for a variable. It's not quite science.
Right.
But it's moving that direction. So the idea of using new forms of artificial intelligence as augmenting us in futures research, I would say that's one of the areas. That and simulations, because the ability to do simulations is going faster. Computational chemistry, computational biology, computational physics, and the idea of dedicating your computers to work on different problems. What happens if futures decided to say, okay, here's some problems we would like to have ongoing work on. What simulations are available, or what simulations can be created? And then having some controlled experiments, having humans do stuff and having artificial intelligence do stuff like Watson. So those are some of the directions I would be interested in going in.
That's good. And then finally, another part of the Millennium Project, and you mentioned already, is the State of the Future report, and now it's online in the new system. But it's often described as like where we're winning and where we're losing as humanity. And as you know, that you hear a lot about where we're losing in the news, and that I think it is easy for people to get despondent. What role do you think that optimism plays in having an attitude about, or like having an optimistic attitude about shaping the future? Like, how important is that?
Well, the way I like to approach it is the idea of a hard-headed idealist. I'm not that much in favor of saying optimism for the sake of optimism, although I have sympathy for that. What I'm interested in is you want to look at the worst, but then how do you address that? so that your optimism is grounded in reality. So it's like in India, there's an expression about the blissed out sadhu who walks in the jungle and he's enlightened and he's blissed out and he steps on a cobra's tail and he's dead. Right? That's not a good future. So we don't want to have blissed out sadhu. We want to have enlightened, aware, situational awareness of the whole thing. So you see the cobra ahead of time, or you smell the cobra, or you feel the cobra, or you're aware of the cobra, or you don't go into a place where there's cobras to begin with. So we would want, so I'm in favor of optimism that is tested by pessimism, that you listen to the downside. There was a futurist named Robert Theobald who said there's 4 mindsets on the future. You have the negative, the positive, the romantic, and the systems. You should listen to the negative because he's telling you where you're losing. That's important to know. You should listen to the positive because the positive guy knows where we're winning but doesn't necessarily know where we're losing. The negative guy doesn't necessarily know where we're winning. So there are 2 different data sources. The third is the romantic. That's the one that says, oh, we just pray 5 times a day and everything will be fine. Or we just love each other and everything will be fine. Yeah, that's where we get our vision, but not our strategy. Then the 4th one is a systems guy. That's the guy that you can't understand what the hell he's talking about. Because that's the one that's trying to put it all together. That's where your strategy comes out of there. So I would see, to make the real, to me, the real good optimist is one who listens to the negative, listens to the positive, considers the vision, but also puts it together in a system, and then keeps a positive approach about doing that. That's solid optimism, and not just the blissed out sadhu.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.